Mastering the 2026 Roadside Brake Safety Check. How to avoid immediate out-of-service orders and protect your CDL. Imagine pulling into a routine roadside inspection. Your logs are perfect. Your paperwork is organized. Your truck looks clean. You think you'll be back on the road in 10 minutes. Then the inspector crawls under your truck. 5 minutes later, you're placed out of service. Not because of speeding, not because of your logs, not because of your license, because of your brakes. And the worst part? Most drivers never saw it coming. Today we're talking about one of the most important topics CDL drivers need to understand in 2026. Roadside brake inspections. We'll cover what inspectors are looking for, why brake violations remain one of the leading causes of out-of-service orders, and how a proper pre-trip inspection can protect your CDL, your paycheck, and your professional reputation. Why brake violations are a big deal. Let's start with the basics. Brakes are not just another component on your truck. They're the most critical safety system on the vehicle. According to roadside inspection data, brake violations remain one of the leading reasons commercial vehicles are placed out of service. And from an inspector's perspective, it makes sense. A truck weighing 80,000 pounds with compromised braking capability becomes a major public safety risk. That's why brake inspections receive so much attention during DOT inspections, CVSA, Road Check, Brake, Safety Week, Targeted Enforcement Operations. And in 2026, inspectors continue to focus heavily on brake system integrity. What happens during a brake inspection? Many drivers think inspectors simply glance at the brakes. That's not what happens. Inspectors may examine brake chambers, push rods, slack adjusters, air lines, brake hoses, brake drums, brake linings, air leaks, air pressure loss. And if they find something concerning, the inspection gets much more detailed. One issue often leads them to start checking everything. Understanding brake stroke measurements. One of the most misunderstood inspection items is brake stroke. What exactly is brake stroke? Brake stroke is the distance the push rod travels when the brakes are applied. Inspectors measure this movement because excessive travel often indicates brake wear, improper adjustment, mechanical problems. The farther the push rod travels beyond acceptable limits, the less effective the braking system becomes. And excessive stroke measurements can quickly trigger violations. The 20% rule drivers need to understand. Here's where drivers get into trouble. Inspectors aren't just looking at one brake, they're evaluating the entire system. If enough brakes exceed allowable adjustment limits, the vehicle may be placed out of service. The exact thresholds depend on brake type and vehicle configuration. But generally speaking, a significant percentage of brakes out of adjustment creates a major compliance problem. This is why pre-trip inspections matter so much. One bad brake might become a repair issue. Multiple bad brakes can become an out-of-service issue. Wedge brakes and older equipment drivers. Operating older equipment should pay special attention. While many fleets use standard air brake systems, some older trucks still utilize wedge brake systems. These systems have different inspection criteria and wear patterns. Many younger drivers have never worked with them, and that can become a problem during inspections. If you're operating older equipment, make sure you understand manufacturer specifications, inspection requirements, wear tolerances, adjustment procedures, because inspectors certainly do. Signs of brake trouble during your pre-trip. Let's talk about what drivers can actually check before leaving the yard. Listen for air leaks, hissing sounds, air pressure loss. Look for damaged hoses, cracked components, loose fittings, excessive rust, missing hardware. Pay attention to low air pressure warnings, brake response changes, pulling during braking, unusual vibrations. Small issues become major violations when ignored. What inspectors see that drivers miss. Here's something many drivers don't think about. Inspectors spend all day looking at brake systems. They know what problems look like. They know where drivers typically miss things, and they know which defects often indicate deeper maintenance issues. That's why a truck with air leaks, worn components, improper adjustments, damaged hoses will often receive additional scrutiny because one brake issue frequently leads to another. How to avoid out-of-service orders. The good news? Most brake-related out-of-service violations are preventable. Here's what professional drivers do. Perform thorough pre-trip inspections. Report defects immediately. Never ignore air leaks. Monitor brake performance daily. Verify repairs were completed correctly. Don't assume someone else checked it. Remember, the mechanic may repair the truck,